search through the lonely earth for me, climb through the briar and bramble. I'll be your treasure. I felt the touch of the king.
Good evening, Adrian.
Hello, Dave. How are you?
Hold on. That's better. I'm flummoxed and all over the place. How are you?
I'm all right. I was ill, and I'm getting over it. So if I start coughing and sneezing, it's just COVID. No, it's not. It's not. I've tested. But well done to you for running the show entirely yourself tonight.
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Higgins are on a well-deserved holiday, and he's asked me to do it myself tonight, and I've been struggling for the past few hours to actually understand what to do. So at least we've got this far.
Yeah, it's all going smooth, Dave.
And we've got the guests in the background. Everything seems to be. I know you're being silly, Adrian.
And I haven't been drinking.
Guess what?
What?
I got a new detector.
I heard on the grapevine. Yeah, interesting. Good choice, I think. Very good choice. And you got a really good deal.
I've got an exceptional deal. What have I been moaning about for so long? What did I want?
Well, it'd be interesting if people can guess.
Yes, let's see in the chat if anybody can guess, apart from Tony Kaywood, who knows what metal detector I have just bought.
And it's not new.
It's not new.
And how can I explain it?
It has a Goliath coil and it has a sniper coil.
And it's a very, very big brand.
Nobody's got it yet. No, it's not an ORX. Not an ORX. I'll let them know it's an X-Terra 705, which I've been moaning about for ages, getting rid of mine, and loving the machine and knowing how to use it. So I've given up and gone back to the brand. So there you go. Anyway, we've got some fantastic guests lined up for you tonight. I've been in communication with Jonathan from the team for a good few years now. We've been. I don't know what I'm doing again now.
And they're kindly awake at 4 a.m. their time.
Stupid o'clock. Stupid o'clock.
So they may look a bit tired and bewildered, but they've kindly
much like us.
Yeah. They kindly got up at 4 a.m.
They have. So without further ado, we will bring in Jonathan, Robert, and Josh from Japan Treasure Hunters. Let me see if I've done it right. I've done it right. I've even done it right again. Good evening, gentlemen. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good evening. Morning. It's all good.
Morning. You all look a bit. Robert looks the tidiest, and I think Jonathan next, and Josh looks like he's had lots of coffee already.
For me, it's a bit of the lighting here, I think.
Not enough yet, unfortunately.
And Robert will be whispering because he can only go to one part of the house where Mrs. Robert won't be woken up.
I hope she knows you're on this show and you're not in the bathroom talking to yourself.
Straight overhead. So.
Why is Robert in the bathroom talking to himself? Anyway, gentlemen,
again,
I'll let you, Jonathan, start off by introducing yourself and the Japan Treasure Hunters YouTube channel. Then I'll come to Josh and Robert. Who's gone? Robert's disappeared. So Robert must have lost connection. Hopefully he'll be back in a minute because I can actually see what's going on. So I'll come to you first, Jonathan. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how the Japan Treasure Hunters came about, because I'm very, very interested in how 3 American chaps are in Japan.
Yeah. So I'm Jonathan Lucas. We've been doing Japan Treasure Hunters for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in July, and it actually started out. I had the privilege to go out to Iwo Jima for work a few times, and I was authorized to metal detect in places that had already been excavated. So I was like, you know what? Everybody's got a YouTube channel. Why not try it out? And that's how we started. Was off that, and then Josh has been here with us the whole time. Actually, since he was the camera, he was the first cameraman. And then we just go out and about in Japan. We don't really like to hit the beaches because that's what everybody can do. So we like to go up into the mountains and hike these hard trails find historical items. So that's what we like to do.
Wow.
Well, some of the locations that we've seen ourselves in the UK that you visited, temples, shrines, tunnels, caves, fascinating, castles even, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, one of the things we don't do is we don't metal detect around shrines. That's like an off limits. That's just more of a sightseeing type part of the video.
But obviously, me personally, Adrian, we've not been to Japan. We don't get to see that, so
Right.
we definitely appreciate that side of things. Sorry.
So, Jonathan and all of you guys, how are you accepted as coming over as foreigners detecting on the land in Japan? Some people okay about it, or do some people get a bit funny?
We've never heard anybody come up and like yell and scream or give us any problem. They're usually more interested in what we're doing. So, it's like, hey, what are you guys doing? So, we speak to them and say, hey, we're looking for, like old coins and stuff like that. And they're like, really cool. Good luck.
That's nice, because I think we probably get more problems in the UK than you probably do on our permissions. So
yeah, so here it's metal detecting is like a hobby that's not seen too much. So there's only like 3 or 4 main channels in Japan. And in fact, we collabed with one other guy who's on.
Right. So do all of you go together every time, or do you just?
We try to.
'Cause it must be
Some
quite
people got.
expensive.
No, it's not so bad. I mean,
No.
like with Josh, sometimes he can't go because of school or work, and then Robert's got work, or maybe if Robert, we can see Robert here, but yeah.
I think he's in the bar.
Lights have gone out. Josh,
Yeah.
tell us about yourself. How did you come to be metal detecting in Japan?
Well, John kind of got me into it. Originally, we did cosplay together. We both dressed up for Star Wars events and stuff here in Japan. And then John came to me, and I started doing camera work for him initially on Japan Treasure Hunters way back when, and just kind of got from there, I guess.
Well, certainly one of our regular viewers, Aaron Wade, he'll love you, and Lance Goolsby as well. Big Star Wars fans, big Star Wars cosplayers as well. Robert, can you hear us?
I can hear you, but my Wi-Fi is getting a little choppy here.
No worries.
So I just tried moving closer, so I'm in the dark.
So, Robert, how did you get into metal detecting in Japan?
Well, I can answer that for him. I talked to him a while ago about it, and he's kind of like, yeah, if I got time, and this and that, and then so just one weekend, we all went up into the mountains, and his first time ever touching a metal detector, first time ever, he stumbles across that samurai sword.
Wow.
And so he's peaked. He's done. I mean, what more could you want off a bucket list, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
He's
back again. Sorry, yeah. You started asking a question, and my Wi-Fi cut out.
So
we're just asking how you got into metal detecting.
Actually, again, like Josh, through the Star Wars stuff, that's where I knew Jonathan, and that's where he pulled me in from. We had one of the events, and I think I was in full Darth Maul makeup and stuff. So Jonathan pulled me in and said, "Hey, you want to come detecting with us?" I'm like, "Sure."
So, either of you used a metal detector before? Jonathan, I presume you had.
No, Jonathan's equipment was the first I used.
Right.
So how long have you personally been detecting, Jonathan?
Let's see. I started in Okinawa in 2011, I think. Yeah, about 2011. You know, I what actually got me started was the Diggers TV show, and I'm like, wow, man, those guys are funny. I like that, and that's really cool that they're out there finding that stuff. So I went and got me a Garrett 150, and that's where it started from there.
And you know what? There's a massive amount of people in the UK again started watching what was it called in the UK? American Diggers. So a lot of people in the UK obviously found out about that program, watching via that, learnt about it, and I mean, when I finally came back into the hobby after many years away, my first one back was the same machine, the Ace 150.
Yeah, very popular. So, do you all use Garrett's at the moment?
Yeah. That's all we use.
What machines do you all use?
I use the Apex. Robert uses the Pro. I've also got a Max, and then Garrett 1500, and then I still got the 150.
Right. And how do you find the Apex?
I like the weight. Definitely,
Yeah.
the weight on it's really great. I do notice like some one shot sounds, like you just hit a tone and then you don't hear anything else after that, like a real quick tone. It could be the ground up here because the ground's a little funky over here, but I like it. I kind of like to call it the coin killer because it nails coins like right and left here.
Yeah. So you obviously all meet up and then you pack your metal detectors and fly out. Do you all meet up and then fly out together, or do you all meet up in Japan?
Oh no, we're all over here. We live here. So
oh, sorry. Oh,
yeah.
right.
So we meet up on a Saturday. Yeah. We meet up usually on a Saturday morning and then head out. Wow.
And do you find it, obviously where you are, it's beautiful countryside, and if you're detecting and you don't have much of a day of it, with the sceneries, they like waterfalls and places to go and nice places to eat out and dine?
Oh yeah, that kind of works it out. We kind of have a routine now. So pick everybody up. We stop at a convenience store, hit the expressway, and drive for about an hour and a half to our location.
Wow, that sounds absolutely lovely. So we'll get on to other bits later, but the finds, what on an average day's detecting will you most commonly find, and what's on your bucket list apart from a samurai sword?
Well, Josh, what do we usually find? Pull tabs.
Pull tabs. Let's see. Pull tabs, nails, foil, more pull tabs, cans.
Yeah.
Assorted farming implements.
Yeah. Along with those, we found some great sport items too. Like Robert found a lock from the Edo period, which ran from 1603 to 1868. I found a tsuba, which is the top of a sword. It's a handguard for a sword. We found some other pieces of swords, but usually we can pull up a couple coins from the Edo period, the 1603 to 1868. I'm getting better at being able to identify where they came from now because I got a better book for it. So like the last video, I could actually track down the exact years that these certain coins were made. So that was really cool.
So there's obviously a lot of trash, but there must be a lot of ammunition and stuff laying around as well.
We found a couple rounds. I found I think it was a 70 millimeter shell up in the mountains. I guess Robert's having issues, huh? Yeah. But yeah. So we've not really found too many of those.
Right. Okay. And Josh, do you mind me asking how old you are?
Oh, me? I am 35.
Right.
You look about 18.
Yeah, I did wonder.
I'm the young one in the group.
You are the young one. What do your friends think of you metal detecting? Do they think you're a bit mad, or are they interested in it as much as people like us are?
Oh, sorry. Could you ask again?
Yeah. Your friends, what do they think of you going out metal detecting, looking for treasure? Do they think you're mad, or
Oh.
do they sort of want to join in?
Oh no, they generally think it's interesting. A lot of them have just heard about it or occasionally seen it on TV every now and then, but most of them are generally curious. Some would like to go out from time to time. It's just kind of hard getting like schedules to line up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But generally, there's like the common thing is just like they're just really interested in what we find or what we might find or where we go, because a lot of my friends enjoy hiking, so they would just go just for the hiking if they could. But the metal detecting is certainly an extra bonus to it.
Yeah. How long are you out for each day or weekend? How long do you go out detecting?
Well, we usually meet up around, let's see, earlier in the morning, but maybe around 9. Is that about right, John? That's about the average time we meet
about
up.
9:30ish.
And then we go into maybe the mid or sometimes late afternoon, depending on where we are, depending on how traffic is.
Right. Okay. And you try to go every week or every couple of weeks?
Yeah, we try to go every Saturday.
Yeah. Nice. Something to look forward to, like it is for us.
Yeah, it gets me out of the job and the house.
Yeah.
What do you do for a day job, Jonathan?
So I used to work at DLA Energy over here, and that's where I met Jeff. Actually, he's the other camera tech, location research guy. I met him there because he used to be my boss actually, but now I work as a private contractor over here on base doing some projects.
Somebody's asked, does Japan actually make its own models of metal detectors? Obviously, we have our Garretts, we have what have you, but is there anything that's in Japan that we don't know necessarily in the UK?
They do, but they're very few and far between. I couldn't tell you the names just because they're like basically nobody does it over here.
No, that's interesting. That's really interesting. But that leads me on to, if you need to buy metal detectors, there's obviously not a shop near you. So do you import them from the States?
Yeah. Actually, there's a couple Garrett dealers over here, but I talked to a couple of them and they're like, yeah, don't try to do this as a full-time job. It's
No.
like just something that you do on the outside. Usually I use Amazon, or
Really?
I go directly to the Garrett website. Actually, the KG and Ringy, I asked them about some shovels because they didn't ship to the address that I have, and they actually shipped to us and a lot of swag and stuff. So that was really cool.
That's nice.
Fantastic. Robert, I'll ask you next if it's okay, because
Sure.
we've got you on audio because obviously you've switched to your computer and you've not got a vision.
Yeah, I
there.
don't have a camera on my computer, and I'm sitting in the dark anyway. So all you're going to see is this blackness. I am the Shadow Man.
What's your day job there, Robert?
Actually, my day job, I'm quitting. I've got 4 days. I've got 4 days left here, and then I'm going to be joining John at his company. I'm going to be doing the contracting stuff as well. So
marvelous. And what about yourself, Josh?
I'm not sure if you heard that, but I can answer for him. Josh, what's your day job?
Oh, me? I'm a high school teacher in Tokyo. I work for the Board of Education.
So you must be pretty fluent in the language as well.
Not as much as I'd like. No, John's actually quite a bit better at Japanese than I am. But because I'm an English teacher, I'm able to get by a lot better, I think.
As far as Japanese levels, like, I think all of us are pretty good with like a conversational level, but bring us to a doctor's office or something where you need to start using technical Japanese and I know I'm lost.
Yeah,
I'm lost with English doing that. Don't worry.
So, with regard to detecting, how do you go about getting permission to go on the land you detect on? Because, like you said, the language barrier must be a bit complicated. So,
Yeah, actually, Japan is kind of weird because they have properties, right? And of course, you're supposed to get permission to go on properties. But since we go up into the mountains, we usually hit the trails. And according to the police, the trails are fair game. So that's what we do. Now, with that being said, if you find stuff like what Robert did, that has to go to the police. Um, Basically, if you find anything on top of the ground, it's supposed to go to the police. And then if you find anything under the ground, you can do whatever with it you want.
wow.
So Robert, Jonathan alluded earlier that you found something of consequence, which I think myself, Adrian, and most of the UK viewers this morning, will be pretty gobsmacked about. Tell us about that find, how it came about, what machine you were using, etc.
Yeah, I was actually that was my first day out, so complete beginner's luck, and I found the holy grail of Japanese metal detecting, using one of Jonathan's Garrett's, and we were actually getting pretty close to the car. We were done for the day. I think Jonathan had even turned his machine off, and we just took a small break on our way down the mountain, and I'm like, I'll check out this little side trail. And I go over, I get a tone, and here's the hilt of a sword sticking 6 inches out of the ground. And we ended up, it was stuck in the ground, like straight down, like someone had driven it down in. And after an hour or so of digging, actually the end of it was curved back as it hit a rock. So somebody actually had been pounding it straight into the ground for some reason.
Wow.
Jonathan took it to a sword museum. Turns out it was, how old was it? Like 1500s?
Yeah, it was about 500 years old. The sword master, we took so much care trying to get this thing out of the ground. It took us an hour to get out. Sword master at this museum walks out, picks it up, bends it over his knee, and says, "Here you go."
Well,
it was like straight.
We have to admit it was slightly bent after we pulled it out of the ground. It did have a good curve on it.
It was a bit of a mess, yeah.
And so he pulled it out, and I'm like, "Holy crap, it didn't break!" And he's like, "Well, that's because it's 500 years old. During that time, there was the warring period, so they couldn't have brittle swords. It had to be kind of soft, so that way, if they were out fighting and it bent, they could bend it back and get busy again." So the ones actually made in the Edo period from 1603 on up to when they banned the swords, they were more of an artistic type sword. I mean, they could still fight with them, but they weren't as good as the ones previously.
Now speaking as a guy who's done some Iaido here, and done a lot of actual cutting on tatami and stuff, swords do bend pretty easily, at least the Japanese swords. There have been several times in class or in tournaments where I've seen people take a swing at the rolled up tatami, and if your angle is a little bit off, I've seen swords just like bend, and yeah, they do take them over their knee and bend them back into place. So
fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So this from what I've seen on TV, on the likes of Forged in Fire, which that's basically what we get to know about any swords in reality, is from the likes of that. Would you be able to trace the person who actually made the sword from their markings on it?
Unfortunately, the hilt had been sticking out of the ground, so there was quite a bit of rust on the hilt part where the maker's mark would have been. Possibly like a professional may have been able to clean that up and maybe bring out some of the mark, but it was pretty much illegible.
But the sword itself was usable?
Yeah, probably would have been. Like I wouldn't have taken it to a tournament or anything or used it a lot in practice just because it had been in the ground for what the museum guy said, even though it was like a 500-year-old sword, it had only been in the ground about 30 years. He was guessing by the condition, so we have no idea what the story is there.
It did still have an edge, though. I do
Yeah,
remember
it
that.
did. It did.
Have we got any pictures, Dave?
No, I haven't actually.
That's a shame. Is the sword with a museum now, or have you got it?
Oh, that's a great story for you there.
How fun was that one, John?
Oh yeah. This is my favorite
Going
story.
back to the police.
Yeah. So since it's considered a dangerous weapon, and if you find something like that, you have to turn it into the police immediately. Well, I didn't do that. I took it to the museum first, and because technically we're not experts on swords, so we couldn't make that determination on the spot, right? But we knew what it was, and so I took it to the museum first, and they were like, "Yeah, we have 1,000 of these things. We don't need it. It's not in that great a shape, so it's yours to do with whatever you want." So I said, "Okay." So took it, and my wife and I were talking about it, and she says, "You might want to just take it to the police and let them deal with it, and maybe they'll find it a good home." So I said, "Okay." So we go over to the police, and about 4 hours later, they came to the conclusion that either I give them the sword and claim no rights to it, or I go to jail. That's because I didn't. Yeah, that's just because I didn't take it straight into them.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
I actually transported a dangerous weapon, had it for a week, and they wanted to know what I was doing with this sword for a week before I turned it in. And about a year later, my wife got a call from them asking about the sword again.
Wow.
Now, part of that is like when we pulled it out of the ground, there was rust, it was covered in dirt, it was bent. We took it to the museum, they straightened it. One of the guys there actually cleaned it up and polished it quite a bit. So when we pulled it out of the ground, it looked like a lump of metal that was a sword, maybe. And when John took it to the police, it had been cleaned, it had polished, it was obviously, in much better shape and stuff. So that may have had something to do with it too.
I think I'm able to bear with me. I think I'm able to have a look at this. Let's just see. There we go.
There it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the hilt kind of sticking out of the ground here. And yeah, I'm pointing out the hole where the actual hilt would have been attached on the end of the blade. That's where the screw would have gone through.
Wow.
Yeah,
500 years old.
Yeah, that was a day I there's a little envy still, but I'm just glad that he found it and we were able to post it on our channel. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, but talk about beginner's luck. I mean, my first day out. And here's me being all gentle. An hour later, we've got a hole about 3 feet deep trying to get that thing out of there.
Yeah,
and that's all we were really using was the trowel.
Well, that's all we had.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. The handle was bent over like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it got bent around all the rocks on the ground too. That's why it was so difficult to get out.
And I figured since they were trying to pull it out, I'd see what else was around there, and I found a coin too. That coin's a Kane Tsuho, so that was probably from 1663. After that time frame.
I'm learning as I go, so I apologise. I've just turned the sound down on it a bit so we can actually hear you speak over it as well.
So we can talk over it. Okay.
Apologies for that. I'm a complete novice at this, and
you're doing well, Dave.
Stuck in there.
Yeah, right there's where it finally came loose, and it was so difficult to get out.
Yeah, and just from being in that position, the swordmaster was able to put it right.
Yeah, it was surprisingly malleable.
Yeah, very bent.
So there was a question in the chat. I think Ken asked what are our thoughts of why it was there. I could. It looks like somebody actually took it out there, and maybe some kid was mad at his dad or something, and said, "You know what? Let me take your prized possession and pound it into the ground." That's my guess, because it wasn't out there that long.
Yeah, you mentioned the coin as well. Sorry, could you repeat what that was called?
Yeah, that's called a kanetsuho, and basically it's a one mon. So it's like it took 4,000 mon to make 1 yen, and we all know that yen's about 1 penny in American money, about ish. So yeah, just that coin, it'd take 4,000 of those to make 1 yen.
Which is why when we see these massive vessels full of coins that are found, they're probably that type of coin, and they obviously are low grade money. So one of the questions from Adventures in Dirty says, how do you determine the age of the coins, the likes of that coin?
Okay, so that coin, there's a, with all the little designs on it, you can track down exactly where it was made and about the time frame it was made. So there's 4 kanjis on it. The one on the left, that's the first one I look at, because if the legs are closed together, it was made between 1626 and 1663, and then if the legs are open like that, then it's after that, and then from there you got to find the right other kanjis, and it's a lot of work to try and track down the years.
I could well imagine.
Is there any coins that are silver or gold?
Yes, there are, and those we have not found yet.
All right. Okay.
You guys will definitely know when we do. That's for sure.
Oh yeah,
those are definitely bucket list items.
Well, it's on John's bucket list, so I'm probably going to find it first.
Yeah, he probably will.
And you're allowed to keep those. If you find those under the ground, you're allowed to keep those.
Yeah. However, we would still probably turn it into the police, just a CYA type thing. You know,
you'd probably get arrested for money laundering.
Yeah, probably they would come up with some excuse. Yeah. But after a year, if nobody claims it, then it's yours.
Oh, wow.
So you mentioned as well, and obviously we've seen one of your videos regarding Iwo Jima, where there was a Second World War battle there. Tell us about your time there.
So, unfortunately, I couldn't have the rest of the guys there. I had to go out there for work, and basically, I got permission. So, what I did was I went to the places that were already excavated, and the Japanese said that I could metal detect there. So that's what we did, or that's what I did, and everything that we found, it stayed on the island. It didn't go anywhere. Actually, they've got a little museum out there, and so I give it to them, and they did what they wanted to do with it.
So what finds did you discover there?
I think the coolest thing for me was a 1942 quarter, but everything else was just like shell casings and stuff that you would expect to find on a World War II battlefield, especially the ones that were actually excavated and all that. So I mean, I wasn't going out there specifically to metal detect. It was for work first, and then I had like an hour a day or so that I could do that.
So given the history of the location, could you feel that history? Was it obvious that things have taken place there in the past?
Yeah, as soon as you get out there, you smell sulfur, because that's what Iwo means. It means sulfur. So basically, Sulfur Island. And for me, I think the most important part, because I'm ex-military too, I'm retired, was just the thought of what went on at that time. Like, I believe February 19th was the attack date, or the invasion date, and standing up there on Mount Suribachi, looking out across the ocean, trying to picture 800 ships being out there, and it was just it's kind of, I don't know, awe-inspiring, I guess. I got to stay out there. I think the longest stint was 2 weeks I was out there, and then it's amazing.
I was impressed on the videos where you're actually going into like the cave systems and stuff that were excavated there. I thought that was pretty neat.
Wow. Oh yeah. Yeah, the caves are insane. The Japanese actually lived in the caves when they were preparing for the battle. The only time they would come outside was at night, and it actually kind of frustrated the United States because they would pound it with bombs all day long, and then at night the Japanese would come out and repair everything that they broke or that they blew up, and then the next day everything's fixed, and the U.S. is like, wait a minute, that's not what happened. We destroyed this whole thing. So yeah, and some of the caves, there was one, it's called the sauna cave. It's a 60 degrees Celsius on a normal day in this cave, and they dug this thing out.
Wow.
So, is there any? Obviously, that was an American and Japanese battle. Did they? Did you get the feeling that they treated you any different because of the history, or is it all forgotten about and the Japanese people are just nice?
I believe a lot of they're nice. I think it's like anywhere else you go, like the older generation still has a little bit, a little bit of animosity towards each other, I guess. But for the general part, I don't feel anything like that over here at all. What about you guys?
What about you, Robert?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into this. I wouldn't say I've had any leftover animosity from the World War II era. I've had other examples of racism or xenophobia, but I'd say it's pretty mild compared to what some of my friends get in other places and such.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit like us in Germany, Dave.
Absolutely, yeah. So, Josh, I'm going to come over to you. I'm going to put you on the big screen. There you go. Because I've taught myself how to do it more or less properly now. While you've been metal detecting, what would you say would be the best thing that you've found up to now?
Best thing that I've found, maybe in terms of practical terms, I guess probably a 500 yen coin. So nothing particularly special. It's just a coin and fairly modern at that. But it's still nice to find like just a small spill of coins. I usually find weird stuff, like stuff that wouldn't come up on the detector. I found.
Oh, come on, Josh. I'm the one who finds the weird stuff.
No. Your stuff's pretty standard. But I've found like shoes, sometimes in pairs. I've found. I tend to find clothing, which is really weird.
Do you still have that dress?
No.
He's got it on.
That was the first thing I found was John and I. Where were we, John? When we found that dress.
Yeah, that was I think that was season 2, episode 1, I think, and that was up that one castle that was like, or the it was supposed to be like ruins, but it was just like a big flat area, and it was yeah. We've kind of noticed here that if the places that we're going to are easy to get to, it's just trashy, and that's what it was.
Lots of pull tabs.
Yeah.
Was the dress in the ground, or was it above?
Is the what?
Was the dress actually buried?
It was mostly buried. Yeah, I think I'd probably picked up just some scraps of maybe whatever outbuilding used to be there, maybe an old shed or something that rusted away to practically nothing. I think I was getting bits of that, and then as I was digging down, I just happened across this fabric, and of course that gives you a little bit of like worries, like, oh well, why is there a piece of human clothing like buried here? But it ended up probably just being dumped there at some point, just maybe 30-40 years ago. Forgotten about.
We have some big events in the UK. We've got the Rodney Cook Memorial Rally and Detectival coming up next month, which probably about 7,000 to 1,000 people at each. And we had the Spring Detectival in June, and myself and Adrian were there with the magazine and such like. And I actually found Adrian's dress, which he left.
Well, that's the thing. rubber doesn't perish as much, Dave. So
no, it doesn't.
Probably why. Yeah,
and it also stretches. I've found.
Yeah. I must ask, Josh, what have you got in the cage behind you?
Oh, well, there's actually 3 cages behind me. The one over this shoulder here, that's the
Not
cat.
children, is it?
It's not the woman whose dress it was it?
Sorry.
Let's see. I've got a cat. She's out and about here somewhere. Behind that's ferrets, and then over here there's a taller cage under the air conditioner. That's a chinchilla.
Oh, wow.
I've got a question regarding your animals. It's going to sound peculiar, but it's not as peculiar as we would normally go. Do the animals respond to Japanese or English being in Japan? See where I'm going with this? It's a weird one.
Mine just seem to respond to whatever you're speaking at them. So they seem to know their names, at least. The cat just seems to respond to her name and the sound of food. The ferrets they kind of keep to themselves, and the chinchillas also, minds her own business. So really tough to tell. But all the pets are from Japan, so I'm not really sure. It'd probably be easier to tell if I had a dog.
Which I had a dog until fairly recently. She passed away in May at the age of 15. But I'd had her here in Japan the whole time. And as far as like teaching her tricks, about half of them I taught her in Japanese, her command words. About half of them were in English. And the determination on whether I taught her in English or Japanese was, did I know the Japanese word for it at the time I was teaching her? Yeah. So yeah, about half of her words were that she recognized were Japanese.
That's interesting.
Fascinating.
One question I want to ask: you detect obviously in Japan. Have you wanted to detect anywhere else in the world?
For me, I actually went home to Idaho because that's where I'm from, and a couple years ago, and I did a little bit there. But I would love to come to Europe. You guys have like an amazing history, so that's kind of what we're in it for. We're not. I mean, yeah, we could go to the beach and find like modern stuff, but anybody can do that. So I like to go out and find the old stuff.
Well, we've actually got a guest on next week called Chris Langston, who operates a company called Metal Detecting Holidays. KG and Ringy, big friends of him. They've been over multiple times and been to his sites and holidayed there, as have lots of other Americans. So there's an idea for you in the future. Come over with them.
Yeah.
You'll have your sites all lined up there for you anyway. So nice lad as well, Chris, isn't he, Adrian?
Yeah, lovely guy, and he takes fantastic photos of finds.
Oh, he does.
But if ever you come over here, give me and Dave a shout, and we will take you out with us. Well, preferably down south because we've got better finds and better beer.
I definitely got better finds. The beer is like dishwater and better up north.
No, it's not.
We have a north-south divide in England.
Yeah. Is that the same for you, Josh and Robert? Where would you like to go detecting, or do you go anywhere else?
Robert, you want to go first on that?
Well, at this point, I still don't even have my COVID vaccine, so I'm not going anywhere right now. But no, I think like Josh, like hitting some European sites would be cool. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not a whole lot in Minnesota where I grew up. Originally, I'd kind of wanted to go up to Hokkaido, northern Japan, and try it, but then I realized that was settled a lot later, so you're not going to find much in the way of metal stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we're actually in a pretty good place in terms of a long history of things to find on these mountain trails, and a good selection of coins that keeps us going.
And to be honest, Robert, what tops a samurai sword?
Exactly. Yeah. I think I even joked in that video that, yep, okay, I'm done. I'm going to retire. I'm on top of the game. I'm done.
Yeah, I think
But,
I'm on
but
the top of my
here I
game
am
with
a
my-
couple of years later, and I've still never topped that sword. I have found a couple of little like knives and small swords, but nothing quite like the full-on katana.
I'm still on. I found that an American 1943 dime a couple of weeks ago, so I've still got loads to go yet.
Wow, that's still cool though. I mean, yeah.
Adventures in Dirt there asked if we've ever detected Hokkaido. I just mentioned Hokkaido a few seconds ago, and we have not detected up there. Hokkaido was settled by the Japanese quite a bit later. It was the Ainu up there earlier, and I don't think they used a lot of metal, so most of their tools were still wood and stone type stuff. So detecting in Hokkaido, I think the latest you're going to find stuff is maybe the 1800s after the Meiji Restoration. So it doesn't go.
It's interesting because I've never heard of Hokkaido. Japan is.
So Japan
it's a
is
country I don't really know very well, to be honest.
Yeah, Japan
apart
is
from
made up
what's
of
generally out there.
It's made up of several islands, and Hokkaido is like the second largest island in Japan, and it's also the northernmost. So if you look at a map of Japan, there's like that kind of bent star-shaped island up at the top. All of that is Hokkaido.
I'm going to Google
it. Looks like he's looking it up right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dave is Googling it. Jonathan, just quickly, you said about looking into the tunnels when you went there, and you went in the tunnels. Is it well preserved as like a sort of museum artifact in Japan, or do they just let people leave it as it is?
They pretty much just left it as it is. So there is some like equipment still left down in there, and it's all like corroded and stuff like that. But they're pretty much what it was is what it is now.
Right. Oh.
So is this Hokkaido?
Yep, you can see right in the center of that it says Hokkaido, and then in bigger letters is Sapporo, which is the biggest city up there.
Right, I'm with you.
So
I know all about that now.
So if you scroll down a little bit on the map, we can show you where we're at. So you see Tokyo there? We're a little bit west of Tokyo.
Let me see if I can zoom in.
Well, you all are. I'm not.
Yeah, oh, that is true. Josh just moved down to Tokyo. So if you go to...
Actually, there you can see Tachikawa and Hachioji and Ome, where most of us are kind of out in that area.
Yeah, actually... Yeah, so if you zoom in a little bit more in that area, you can see that there's an air base, and that's where we work. Well, that's where me and Robert will work.
Showing up there.
Yeah, it's a little bit above.
Fusa, yeah.
Yeah, So you see that kind of that where it says Fusa, in that area where there's no roads. That's where the base is at.
Ah, there.
Yeah.
This area here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Marvelous. Just learned all about that. Something else we've learned you tonight, Adrian.
I was just trying to work out how many miles away it is. But my Google Maps says it will take 97 days if I walk. So,
all right, Jesus.
That would
give me a bus route as well. I don't know why. How many miles? Sorry.
I was going to say that 97 days you'd have to be walking pretty fast, and that would involve some swimming as well.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? I'm just trying to. It's looking for the best route.
How?
7,500 miles. Isn't that amazing? And we're all sitting here now chatting.
I'm the person with the worst screen is you, who's in England.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. My screen's looking pretty good here.
Yours looks ace. It's perfect. It's best screen of all.
I figured I'd give you my best angle.
So it looks like we got a question from Tony. What's the best Japanese beer? I like Asahi Super Dry, especially if you freeze a glass and have a nice cold glass right there. Pour it. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, but you never actually get to freeze a glass.
Yeah, I know. My kids take it out and go, "Why are the glasses in the freezer?"
Yeah, I've had that. How strong is the beer out there?
what is about average about 5%, right? Ish.
Okay.
Adrian,
I
we're doing a road trip.
I never developed the taste for beer myself, but some Japanese sake, that I'll go for, definitely.
Yeah, I like
They got
that.
these drinks called chuhais, and
Those are good.
yeah, they are. They go up to about 9% if you want the strong ones, and they're strong.
And
What's that type of
it's
drink is that?
chuhai. It's I believe it's Japanese shochu, which I think is potato wine, and then it's mixed with different fruit flavors and such.
That's poaching, Dave. Irish poaching.
The lemon flavors are my favorites.
Yeah, but the poaching, Adrian's usually about 90%.
Yeah, I've drunk that, and I couldn't
have I.
see one. I drank it out of an old lemonade bottle. Someone had illegally brewed it in Ireland. My wife's family live out there, and never again. It was awful. I literally couldn't see, couldn't walk, couldn't talk. And I woke up the next morning and I had a big bump on my head. So I'd obviously collapsed somewhere. But yeah, no, it's nice. It burns your throat though. But how do you spell? Was that Asahi Super Dry?
Yeah, ASAHI.
Yeah, we're all going to get that imported now. ASAHI.
And that actually means
on Amazon
morning
later.
sun.
Yeah, I
Morning
think it's
sun.
actually pretty easy to get abroad. I know we could get it in the States, at least back where I was from. So,
is it a blue label?
No, it's silver.
Ooh, we are, Adrian. A bottle, 24 bottles, $36.99 on Amazon.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Actually, that's cheaper than buying it at a bar here. So yeah, that's a pretty good deal.
Really? Well, we'll try that. Do you have a few drinks when you go out detecting? Do you take beer with you?
No.
Usually I drive, so
yeah. John's driving, so he can't, and the rest, we're hiking up and down these mountain trails where it's like, one, you don't want to be impaired at all on some of the ground that we're on, and two, I don't think we want to dehydrate ourselves that much more.
No. Have you had any problems whilst detecting? Any injuries or close shaves? Obviously, yes.
Well, actually, it wasn't even detecting. Me and Robert got permission to do a rice field, and Jeff he messaged me about 20 minutes before I was going to his house, and he's like, "Hey, I slept down my steps. I think I broke my foot."
Yeah, on the stairs in his own house.
Yeah. So and that's why we had a long gap, because we couldn't get out. He was out. We had other things going on, like I was changing jobs at the time and stuff like that. But yeah, he was out for 6 weeks, and his foot was the right bone on his foot was completely like severed in two.
Ooh.
Now, as far as when we're out on the trails and such, I'm kind of surprised a couple times that we haven't at least twisted an ankle or something. There have been a few times where I've had a rock or something, leaves that I'm standing on, go out from under me and slid a foot or two, ended up on my knee or whatever. But we've actually been pretty lucky and not had any real injuries out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna knock on wood right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. 2 days, in 2 days or tomorrow or whatever, when we go out, there we go. That's when
I fell in a river 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Now was that with the beer or without the beer?
No, I was detecting. Here's an idea. Instead of walking all the way back to the bridge, let's jump onto this little island and then onto that little step there and up on the other bank. Got onto the D island, threw my metal detector and my spade on the other side, jumped on the bank, didn't realise it was erosion and fell in the river. Sadly, it wasn't caught on camera.
So we haven't had injuries, but there have been a couple of mountain leech bites.
Oh yeah.
Mountain leech?
Yeah, mountain leeches, yeah.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah. They're about this big. Hold on. There you go.
Yeah.
They're about this big, and they're really thin, but what they'll do is they'll crawl up on a leaf or something, and they got like a radar that senses heat. And if you just walk by, they will grab onto your clothes, and they will go through your clothes and get into your skin. Yeah, it's
The
ugly.
one,
It's
the one I had somehow got actually into my shoe, which had been laced pretty tightly. It was on the top of my foot, like on the arch. It had bit me through my sock. It was on top of the sock. And like most leeches, they've got anesthetic and anticoagulant in there. Pulled off the leech, and that thing bled for like a day and a half.
Oh,
Like they don't hurt or anything, but yeah, it's
Adrian,
kind of
road
gross.
trips off, mate. Road
yeah, I was
trips
going
off.
to say that's why you're allowed to detect out there because
We've seen films about things like that.
I'm thinking of
sorry.
Stand By Me when the boys swim in the lake and he comes out and looks at his pants. Remember that bit, Dave? In
Stand by me, yeah, yes,
yeah,
definitely.
good film. Yeah, is there any other insects that you have to be wary of? Any spiders or?
Well,
the spiders are not so poisonous.
we
They're
keep
big.
Josh around for the mosquitoes.
Yeah. And then there's snakes, poisonous snakes out there, bears,
Not going, Adrian.
boars. Yeah.
Although we've never actually seen the bear out there, we have seen bear poop a couple of times.
Yeah. We've seen
And-
them stretching on trees.
So what you're trying to say is that a bear does shit in the woods.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
We've got a conversation going on here in the comments about
We do.
whether we've seen any spooky places or ghosts or that type of stuff. Whether there are ghosts in Japan, and yes, there are ghosts reportedly everywhere. But aside from our Halloween episode, I don't think we've had anything too terribly spooky.
Yeah,
What was the Halloween episode?
You got this one, Robert. This was your idea.
We decided to do some detecting at night at a place where there were reportedly supposed to be some ghosts. Nothing actual supernatural happened, but my wife did do a sort of cameo guest star, if that's not a contradiction in terms. She was in the background of just about every scene, dressed in white and just kind of ghosting around in the background somewhere. And we did let everyone in on the joke at the end of it, but no, we haven't seen any actual ghosts. Although we have been places where there were battles that are rumored to be haunted, but haven't had anything spooky going on.
One of the viewers, John Clayton, he's just said there's bad news in Plymouth, which is down south in England tonight. Watch Sky News. So I've just gone on BBC News, and it says that people are being asked to stay inside and follow police advice as an emergency service responded to a serious incident in Plymouth. You've been asked to stay indoors. So stay indoors and watch the big detecting show. No idea what's going on as yet, but thanks for that, John.
Multiple shootings, so hopefully it's not terrorism related. It's sad news that is. But where were we? Ghosts. Do the Japanese believe in ghosts?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's big here.
Really?
Yeah.
There's actually I think there's a show going on now, and it's based off a true story that this guy would actually go rent houses that had like a murder happen in them or something like that, specifically to see if it was haunted. He would go rent these houses and live in them, and then document his journey, as you will. But yeah,
Little known fact. Big known fact. I used to be paranormal investigator, researcher. I used to be very well known in the UK. I've done a lot of TV work worldwide, and we were joined at a hotel in Milton Keynes for a week by a Japanese TV company back in 2002, and we thought it was a documentary about paranormal occurrences in this hotel. So we done hours and hours of recording every night, all day, going to different places locally related to the sites. And it ended up being a Japanese quiz show. So, for instance, I'm standing in a hole, and it was like, what happens next? I don't know what the quiz show was, but it did have one of the contestants on it was it was Japan's equivalent to David Beckham. So it was quite a well-known show. So there you go.
Yeah, interesting. No, you don't. It's a sort of question you don't. You don't think other countries. What do they think of ghosts? And
I've done a lot of research, and obviously into certain things, and honestly, you wouldn't believe different cultures' relationships with what we would call the paranormal. I mean, look at the Mexicans; their relationship. They have the Day of the Dead, for instance. So it's a big craze that's been going on for far too long and looked at properly. But that's my other hat, and I'll put this one back on.
So just
go on there, Adrian.
I was just going to say, we haven't said what your Facebook group and YouTube is for people who want to subscribe.
It's
Jonathan's got the name right there. Instead of giving his own name, he's just Japan Treasure Hunters, and that's us.
Yeah.
And you're on YouTube, Facebook.
Yep. Same. Yeah. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Now, I was looking at this earlier, and you've got 7.5, just over 7,500 subscribers. But I was gobsmacked to see that some of your videos have got well over 500,000 views. Astronomical.
Yeah. Those are the ones that's got the bulk of the subscribers. Was those, and unfortunately, I don't go out there anymore because my job's changed, right? So I don't go out there anymore. So now we're just trying to build on the metal detecting community now.
And you've also done a lot of visits to, as I say before, to temples and places like that, and shrines, which your videos have concentrated on the historical aspects.
Yeah, well, very often we go to the temple, shrine, or castle site, which we can't detect at those places. But once we leave, and we're a good 500 meters away or something, then we can start detecting the trails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we kind of like to do the respect part about that. We don't want to interrupt, and we don't want to interfere with their stuff. We just want to go do our thing on the trails, and that's about.
And also, quite often, like when we find some of these old coins on those trails and such, we'll stop by the shrine and say, "Hey, you guys want these?" If there's somebody there. A lot of these places are just like the buildings are up on the mountain and there's nobody actually there manning it or anything. But sometimes there's like a caretaker around, and we'll often say, "Hey, we found this stuff. Do you want it for showing off around here?"
Adventures in Dirt, and excuse my pronunciation. Did you guys hear about the coin hoard found in Saitama Prefecture? 200,000 bronze samurai coins.
No, and Saitama's right next to us.
Oh dear.
It's like literally like, actually right now I'm living in Saitama, so yeah. Holy crap, I'm gonna have to research that. Thanks, Ken.
Wow, 200,000.
So basically those bronze coins that he mentioned are the ones that we find all the time. But 200,000.
This was in 2018. Looking at the article. If you give me a moment, I'll be able to pull it up if I can remember how to do it again.
Hey, and it wasn't us.
Yeah. I want to find out who this guy was. He's getting in on our territory, Robert.
Actually, I think I remember something about this. It was found like when they were renovating a building. It wasn't found detecting, I believe. Yeah, archaeology.
Okay.
Go away. So not dissimilar to the coin that you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, those actually look like the big Yomon ones, the ones that are worth 4.
It says a wood tablet was discovered.
Yeah, 260. Yeah.
I'm glad you could read that because it was never going to happen with me. So 260,000 coins, and it was buried 2 meters below the ground.
Yeah, that's a bit deeper than we would be detecting.
Yeah.
So it says the Muromachi Jidai, which is the 15th century. Wow.
And it was dug up by archaeologists, not just someone out looking. So they probably had a fair bit better equipment than we have.
Well, if it was an archaeological site, it was likely they were digging the entire place.
Wow.
There you go.
Do you,
What
do
time
you
is it?
do any research on maps, or is there anything to look at where you were going? You do.
Yes. So
Jeff does most of that.
yeah. So he's got this trail map that shows just about every trail there is in Japan, and then he'll overlay it on the Google Maps, and then he'll look and see if there's like flat areas up on the mountains, and that's usually a determination of where outbuildings used to be. So on the trails they'd put like little rest areas, and or like we've come across some castle ruins, but when you all think ruins, you think there's partial buildings standing in this. It's not. It's just it's overgrown. There's no remnants of foundation or anything like that. So
If you're not actually looking specifically at the land features, like knowing what an old moat looks like, knowing what a castle wall grown over might look like, yeah, it would be really easy to not even know it's there.
Yeah, they're quite a bit different from what you'd expect in, say, European castles. Like, there's not a lot of stone. A lot of stuff that would have been built on the mountains and whatnot, or were made from wood and whatnot. It was basically earthworks and then wooden outbuildings and whatnot. Not really too much.
Like a lot of the castles that we see, the Japanese word for it does translate as castle, which, as a Westerner, I think castle, I think like big, Himeji Castle, or maybe some of the castles you have in the UK. But a lot of these we would kind of consider them just a small fort, like a watchtower that was manned by maybe 3 people, but it still translates as castle.
Right. Okay. Ah.
Although we do have some sites nearby that are castles proper that would have been major fortifications. So it's
fascinating country. I mean, someone mentioned in the chat about what the Japanese religion is, and somebody else mentioned it being Shinto. Is that correct?
Shinto Buddhism. Yeah, there's 2 major branches of Buddhism. Would be the main religions.
Yeah, Shinto is the native faith in Japan. That's the one that goes way, way back, and then Buddhism came in sometime after, and yeah, as Robert said, split into 2 different branches, and that's the main thing now.
Absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's a country, I think, well, definitely Tokyo being obviously the epicenter of Japan, where everything seems to be going on. It's a country I'd personally love to go to. Stafford's Researcher asked, do any of you, I think you mentioned earlier, Robert, you do some form of martial art, but the rest of you?
Well, to continue off his comment there, I'm not actually training any karate styles right now, but I have in the past done a few different styles, both in the United States and here in Japan. Most recently, I've been doing the sword, but the last 2.5, 3 years here, my work schedule hasn't let me do it too much. So hopefully I can start it up again now that I'm changing jobs.
I think the road trip might be back on, Adrian. He can protect us from the bears.
Oh, and in addition to the sword and the open hand martial arts, I'm also a lightsaber instructor.
Good lad.
Okay.
Adam Weedle's missing this tonight, isn't he?
Do you charge?
No, actually, I'm part of a community service, I guess you call it, group, nonprofit organization called Saber Guild. And we do lightsaber choreography and performance in costume at conventions or birthday parties or whatever. Haven't actually done much since coronavirus hit. We haven't done anything since coronavirus hit, but we were practicing weekly up before that. Kind of shut everything down.
I'd like to suggest that cosplay and such like and comic conventions in Japan will be pretty big, given the whole manga scene in the Far East.
Yeah, the conventions are different. Like you've got the huge mega conventions like One Fest and things like that. But like our Western style of conventions, they're again, Corona kind of shut things down. But Tokyo Comic Con has done 2 or 3 times, and that was starting to get pretty big. But again, Corona just kind of stopped everything. They're trying to start it up again this December, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I've got a costume. I'm getting
one of
ready
our
for
friends and regular viewers, Tony Kaywood, he's said you're rekindling his love of Japan, and he'll be watching Battle Royale later, which I've no idea what that is. Has it got buttons in it, TC?
Lee Hull says Darth Maul best with saber, and I do the Darth Maul costume. I do that fight, and one time on May the 4th, a few years back, when May the 4th happened to fall on the day I had the sword class, I went to class in full Darth Maul makeup, and there's video out there of me with a sword just hacking away at the rolled up tatami as Darth Maul. So it's out there.
Wow.
Well, I'm shortly about, if I can suss out how, we mentioned earlier to you guys about we have a weekly free prize draw. So I've got things lined up, and I've got that lined up, and I think I'm doing it right.
We have to pick a number between
in a minute.
And
where am I? So if you share that screen, share that tab, I can bring that into play. But then we'll play a short advert. That one. So that's the Diggers. Look at that. Look at that. How good was that, Adrian? I got it right.
Got to pick a number, Dave.
Yes, gentlemen, if you could pick a number between 1 and 32. First prize this week is a reading lamb book. Second prize, a cleaning pencil. And third prize, 5 Diggers Dips token. So, Jonathan, number, please.
12.
32.
12.
Josh, number. Robert, number.
3.14 pi.
Adrian, 15.
12.
Well, he's had 12.
Oh, 11.
13. Lucky to some. And that is Pink Stuff Tada has won
Ta-da!
reading book. Jonathan, a number again, please.
17.
Josh?
32.
Robert?
Let's go with 5.
Adrian?
9.
19.
In the comments there, Carrie says it's Friday the 13th tomorrow, but that's today for us.
Oh, it's a 1 again.
Oh, it is Friday. Oh, gosh. I won't go out. We'll stay at home.
I'm staying at home. My timber's getting delivered tomorrow. Number 12. George. Nice, easy one. So he's won the cleaning pencil from the Composite Cleaning Pencil. www.cleaningpencil.com. Jonathan, last prize.
7.
Josh?
9.
Robert?
24.
Adrian?
28.
19.
It'll be 52.
Oh,
007.
I bet it is 007.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Rick Hill. So first prize is the Reading Land book to Pink Stuff. Second prize, the cleaning pencil to George, and 5 Diggers Dips tokens to Rick Hill. You will be contacted in your normal way via Diggers Dips. Thank you to Diggers Dips, and don't forget to look out for Detect-a-thon. And thank you also, as ever, to Mr. Graham Dempsey from the Cleaning Pencil Company. Which you gentlemen, if you ever need any fines cleaning, have a look at these products. They are the best on the market, aren't they, Adrian? And that's not be biased.
They also do a nice little wax that you preserve wax that you looks like shoe polish, and I can never open the tin. No.
I've been sent a video by
wax.
him this week of him using that wax on a absolutely stunning relic, which I think he might be bringing along to Rodney Cook and to Detectable. But I'm not going to spoil it. I'll let him tell you that. Stunning. Anyway,
no, it's very therapeutic as well. Cleaning your finds, I find as well. So if you find for us, where I am down south, where we have a lot of good finds
and bad beer.
If I find a very messed up Roman coin, I can sit there for half an hour cleaning away with his pencil, and then it's good. It's nice, and it's nice seeing something appear. So, and he's a composite specialist. He's not just a guy who's bought a load of stuff from China. He's actually researched and developed it. Nothing against the Chinese.
This is the closest thing I'll ever find to a sword. It's my knot sword. That's the closest I'll have. My knot sword. And I was thinking of making my bull nose ring into some form of bracelet as well, Adrian.
I found one like that on Saturday. I found a bull nose ring like that on Saturday, among many other things, which I've left at work, and I think somebody's moved. So there's a hammered coin in there and a few other bits, and it seems to have disappeared. So I've got to try and find that tonight. I'm panicking. But one quick question, you guys, because you're obviously in Japan. What do you take out to eat with you when you're detecting?
It's kind of funny because I shop on base. I do a lot of shopping on base, so it's American style stuff. But we found that beef jerky and like the pepperoni sticks, those work. Those actually really like re-energize you. And of course, we take a mess load of water.
Yeah, I will often have like a protein bar in my bag as well, just in case.
Yeah.
Josh?
John doesn't help with this, but usually in the morning, I always take out like a energy drink. I'm partial to Monster myself, which honestly does not help with the whole dehydration bit. But fortunately, we have a lot of water to compensate.
And we do stop at a convenience store on the way and get like Family Mart chicken or something on the way too.
Personally, I have a hamper of sorts. now, my question, it's not metal detecting related, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When cooking in your kitchen at home, what is your favourite hob ring to use? You know, your burner on top. Burners, you'll call them, won't you?
Yeah.
So what was your favourite burner?
Well, when I had the American oven before we moved off base, I would use the top right one.
Say, he's got it sussed. Josh?
Honestly, whichever one's closest to me. So it's either
not very
bottom
safe.
Left or, it's
not
usually
very
bottom
safe.
left or bottom right.
Robert?
Well, the answer to that question is really simple for me because I've got this tiny Japanese shoebox apartment, and I don't have an oven. I have like a toaster oven. As far as the burner, I have a single gas burner plugged into my wall. So, you know, my favorite one is the only one.
This goes back to the event I mentioned earlier, Detectable. It was so hot that I really couldn't move out of the gazebo where we had our stall. And it just went into asking people what the favourite hob ring was. So it ended up a 15-minute video of people walking past and being accosted and asked what the favourite hob ring was.
But also it depended electric or gas, didn't it? Dave?
Yes, it did. It did.
Mine is gas.
We found that it should be safety-wise, Josh, are you listening, at the back so you don't walk past it and knock it off or anything. You know what I mean?
Oh, fine.
So you got it from now on, Josh. You've got to think safety. Safety is paramount.
Josh hasn't got children running around because they're in the cage, so he doesn't have to worry about safety.
But the cat might knock it off.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
No, that's a point. She's a big cat too, so.
So what's the plans for you guys going forward? Are you looking at any new sort of ideas for your channel, or?
Well, since I got extended over here a couple more years, we can kind of work that a little bit more. From past what I think right before COVID kicked off, we all kind of collaborated on a movie script, and so we put that together, and it's done well. It's done pretty well at a few film festivals and stuff like that. But now it's kind of plateaued out, so we're still trying to drum up, trying to get that going forward. But as for the channel itself, I don't know. We're every season we try to pick a new theme on the season and try to do something a little bit different, but it always just seems to come back to the same type of videos. So we've been, I myself, I'm not a huge fan on like somebody holding a camera and saying, hey, this is what I found, and pointing the camera down like that. I kind of like the TV show type approach to it. So that's kind of how I like the videos, but
yeah,
I'm also
we're always trying to like find a better way to present what we're doing, a better way to showcase what we're doing rather than just hours and hours of video of people digging and occasionally pulling up a pull tab.
Yeah.
But have you as yet metal detected in Star Wars costume?
Not Star Wars, but our second Halloween special, I was out there in full Indiana Jones costume.
Good bad.
Cool.
And
I'm desperate now to see Darth Maul and a couple of stormtroopers.
that was the day that Josh
shooting.
saw the snake too. So
yeah,
and he ate snakes. Does Aunt Indy?
Yeah.
That fit really nicely because snakes. Why does it have to be snakes? Yeah, that's
yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we're more or less ready to wrap up the show. I noticed through Josh's window that you've got Daybreak now. You've actually
Tony,
live.
whip included.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And how many hours is it till your show with Ken on Relics Radio?
Oh, about 3.5 hours.
Yeah, 3.5.
So you can go and have 3 hours sleep, get a quick shower, something to eat, and you'll be ready.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, as I said earlier on, please go over and subscribe to Japan Treasure Hunters on YouTube, and you can always also find them on Facebook as well. Keep up to date with their adventures, and I will call them adventures because going out on the trail in the wild in Japan to me is an adventure.
Well, I'd like to say thanks for having us on. It's a pleasure, and it was great fun. Appreciate it very much.
Sorry, not to draw things out, but we have mentioned several times that even if we never found anything, just getting out and hiking these trails is more than enough to keep us going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
Great day out with friends.
Yeah. Yep. No, thanks for joining us such early time, 4 o'clock in the morning, I think it was when you started. So really, really appreciate it, don't we, Dave?
We do. As do the viewers. And don't forget, you can catch up this anytime if you go to www.bigdetectingshow.com. Don't forget our website, www.arkmdmag.com. We've got a new person editing the next issue of the Free Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, which will be available at Rodney Cook Memorial. Who's that, Adrian?
It's a company we sourced in London, top agency, who will be doing it. So,
why are you lying?
It's me. I do a bit of publishing in me time, so yeah, I'll be putting it together this time. So,
and from the initial one that you dropped over to me the other day, it does look a doozy. It looks great, absolutely. Yeah. So. My apologies tonight if the show hasn't been as well produced as normal, because I've been trying to suss it out as I go along, because Luke's in Laura are away in Devon on holiday, in a shepherd's hut, I think, something like that. And it's an absolutely awesome view. And Luke's got some good land to detect where he's found Roman coins in the past. So good luck to him. And I'll be glad to have him next week because this has been stressful.
Well done, David. And hopefully Robert's wife can use the bathroom shortly as well.
Actually, since I'm at the computer without the webcam, the bathroom is open. So
good.
my phone kept disconnecting, so I switched over.
Cool.
Well, we appreciate your time, Robert, Josh, and Jonathan. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Obviously, we share the Japan Treasure Hunters things via the magazine quite regularly. So some of you might have seen that in the past, but if you haven't, obviously, Jonathan, Josh, Robert, if you want anything put in the magazine at all, be it an article or a link to a new video, please give me a shout. You know where I am and sort that no problem and share that around social media and the world. So again, gentlemen, we can't thank you enough for taking the time out, especially at a stupid o'clock in your time. And we hope to have you back in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let us know when. We're happy to come back.
Back to the Future. I also play Doc Brown. So
Doc Brown.
Oh dear.
What did I watch yesterday? Kerry pointed it out to me. Revisited Again, I think it's called.
Brideshead.
No. Kerry, what was it called? Quick, tell me. It's Josh Gad, who's an American actor. And he's got a YouTube channel where he basically reunites the cast of certain films.
Yeah,
and one of them was Reunited Apart, it was called. And I binge watched yesterday about 6 episodes. Wayne's World, The Goonies, Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future, and Ghostbusters. Give that a look. Tremendous. Anyway, again, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you to all the viewers tonight. And we will end the show shortly when I play this. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Thanks again, chaps.
Take care. Thank you.
Good night.
Well done, Dave.
Thank you.